Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and I am so excited for today's guest who is going to help me keep the excitement and inspiration that many of us felt after watching the Boston Marathon last month alive. She hasn't run the Boston Marathon yet, but she is a super inspirational marathoner who's just getting started in her marathon journey, and I'm just going to read her bio for you because that's the best way for me to summarize why I am so excited to have her as my guest today. So my guest is Alyssa Houtby. She is a 20-something wife, mom to her 3-year-old daughter McKenna, full-time career woman, and aspiring elite runner from Visalia, California. Alyssa ran her first ever marathon last May at the Mountains to Beach Marathon in Ojai, California in 3:09, more than 20 minutes faster than her Boston qualifying standard. In December, she set her current marathon PR, 2:58 at the CIM, which is the California International Marathon, for those of you who are not aware of that. Her next major goal is to qualify for the 2020 Olympic Marathon Trials. She's a fitness lover, nutrition nerd, and fancies herself a chef in the kitchen. She says running is the glue that holds her crazy life together. Alyssa, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
So I feel like that last line there where running is the glue that holds your crazy life together, I feel like I relate to that tremendously, and people may or may not know, like, technically we had already recorded this interview and you were kind enough to deal with my crazy life and crazy technology to come back. So.
Of course. No, it happens. I completely understand.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I definitely feel that running helps a lot with that.
Exactly. We know what it's like to have a bad day.
Yep.
And a good day.
Yep. So that's like our little commercial maybe for running. For those of you who are listening who aren't runners, it definitely helps a lot and is a good way to help you deal with life. So Alyssa, in reading your bio, you're obviously a very impressive runner and marathoner in particular, but what's actually even more impressive is that you were not a competitive runner in high school or college, and you only recently took up the sport. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of the backstory on that for our listeners and what made you decide to take up running more recently.
You're right. So I played sports growing up. I was really involved with soccer and basketball. I did do cross country for a couple of years in middle school, but in high school and college, I did not play any competitive sports. In college, I worked out just for health reasons and weight loss and that sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't get into the competitive running thing until after I had graduated and had moved to a new town where I live now in Visalia, California. And I had one friend who had moved here after college too. And she asked me one day out of the blue if I would be interested in training for a half marathon with her. And I said, sure, why not? It was something we could do together. We really only had each other and our significant others when we graduated college and moved away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good way for us to stay connected and just do something good for us. So I went into that first half marathon. I didn't have a formal training plan. I just went to the gym, did my regular, cardio kickbox type class, body pump stuff, and ran a few miles here and there. And she and we just went out and ran a half marathon. I don't even know what that time was. I didn't have a watch. There was nothing fancy. I had like a basic pair of running shoes from Kohl's or something like that. But it was so much fun, and the atmosphere, that race atmosphere is contagious, and it just brought me back. And I did a whole lot of half marathons that year and the following year.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And then it wasn't until after I had my daughter, McKenna, who's 3 years old now, that I joined the local running club, Visalia Runners, that I'm now actually the vice president of. And they're such a great group of people. We get together every morning at 4:30 in the morning and get some good miles in. And the entire group was training for a marathon. They were going to do Rock and Roll San Diego, and I didn't know if I was quite prepared for that tough of a course for my first marathon. So I decided to sign up for Mountains to Beach because it was only 1 or 2 weeks before San Diego, and I could somewhat follow along with their plan. And that's what I ended up doing. And it just worked out really well. And
yeah.
Yeah, so we followed a plan called the Hanson's Marathon Method, which is just based on the method of accumulative fatigue, which is basically running a lot of miles, doing 2 significant workouts a week and a long run every other weekend. And that just got my legs used to putting on a lot of miles. So on race day, that translated into a huge, well, obviously a PR. It was my first race, but it was, I finished a lot faster than I thought I would. I was going for a Boston qualifying time, which for me is 3:35, but yeah, finished in 3:09.
No, that's awesome and super inspiring. And I know my listeners are going to love hearing your story and getting inspired by it as well. I guess one thing I have a question about for you is your training plan, just as a training plan that you just started using for your first 2 marathons, what that plan is like in terms of helping you build that fatigue. Do you track the miles you're running each week, or just kind of track your long runs, or just to give some insight to listeners who might be thinking about different marathon training plans?
Yeah, so for that first marathon, I think I peaked out 1 week at 80 miles, but generally it started at around 45 and over 18 weeks. I would say the average got to about 65 miles per week, which was, and I think they're just standard Hanson's plan. It wasn't their advanced plan, which is what I did for CIM, the California International Marathon in December. Yeah, which actually has you build up a little bit more miles over that 18-week period. But yeah, about 65, I would say, was average for the Mountains to Beach build up.
And so do you think that helped like translate into the faster time, or just, having run it one time before and knowing a little bit more about what the marathon's like, or? That sound is for my walkers. If you're joining us and only have 15 minutes to devote to listening right now and you're out for that out and back walk, you want to turn around now. All right, back to Alyssa. Any insights?
Oh yeah, so going into CIM, I knew I was capable of a lot more than what I had done at Mountains to Beach. So your first marathon, I guess you're always a little bit cautious. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what those last few miles, that last 10K is going to feel like. And everybody who has run a marathon tells you it's like the absolute worst. So I started out Mountains to Beach very conservative, just kind of running fearful of that last 10K.
Right.
And I have to say it worked out because I did negative split that race. But I felt fine. Like I felt good crossing the finish line.
Yeah.
I was tired, of course, but I felt like I had more in the tank. And so when I started building up for CIM a few months later, I decided to do the advanced plan because I just felt like my legs could handle the extra mileage, and with more miles, I could probably knock down some significant time.
Yeah.
I would say I thought, well, maybe I can shoot for a sub 3-hour marathon, which is kind of like that elusive number that everybody kind of shoots for once they've hit their BQ. It's kind of like the next thing that you want to shoot for. So I thought, I think I can do that. So that's the time I started training for, and it wasn't until probably 2 weeks or so before the race I was really confident I could do it. I was like, well, I'll be happy with a 3:05 or just a PR.
Yep.
But yeah, a couple of weeks, especially going into that like taper period, my legs just felt super fresh, and I was healthy and feeling good. The weather was great, and so I just thought, I can do it today. And there's a pace group, so I'll just stick with the pace group as long as I can. And if I feel good, then I'll leave them behind. And that's what ended up happening at CIM. I stayed with them through the halfway mark, and then I just felt good. So I, again, negative split that race.
Awesome. No, that's the way to do it. So I guess, because I haven't run the CIM, and I probably should just like research it myself, but just from running, I think what I think I know about is that it's it's flat versus Mountains to Beach being a net downhill. Is that true? Or is that
Okay, so CIM,
I gotta
it's
get the
it's
scoop.
it's like a big lie. I kid you not, because they sell it like it is a net downhill course. And
Okay.
I don't know where in those 26 miles you end up getting net downhill, because it feels like you're running uphill the entire time.
Oh no,
Where
you
Mountains to
oh
Beach,
wow, yeah.
Mountains to Beach, I feel like you actually do notice that it's downhill and you can
Right.
use that to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
CIM is just a lot of rolling hills. So at some point you go
Okay.
down more than you go up, but you are doing a lot of up too. So it
Okay.
was it's kind of like a very tactical race. And I had the good fortune of sort of knowing that area, since I spent a lot of time in Sacramento for work.
Okay.
And then, of course, sticking with the pace group. And again, I think I got lucky, because that pace group, the way they approached the race was to kind of accelerate up on the uphill, but not push it on the downhill, to really use the downhill as a recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so by the time you were going to go back up again, your legs felt fresh, instead of using the uphill to sort of slow down and then pound it on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
It was the opposite. And I don't know if I would have done that naturally, but
Right.
I definitely will in future races, because
Yeah.
it worked so well. Like by the time you got to kind of like that level, where it levels out at the end, my legs were not thrashed from the constant up and down, just because
Mm-hmm.
we took that so I would say appropriately, have, not just even keel across the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to think about getting ready for Mountains to Beach for
Yeah.
some strategy. But yeah, because I was gonna say, like,
Mhm.
for me, like, not knowing it now, I get the real scoop though. But I feel like I would be thinking like, well, am I gonna really be able to, like, if I was as fast as you are, but like, am I really gonna be able to go sub 3? Like on a course that's not as maybe downhill, but yeah, it's awesome. So like definitely
Yeah.
exciting for the next races coming up, given that it's a harder course.
Mhm. It's just a different course. I think
Sure.
if you have a good strategy going in, it didn't feel any harder than Mountains to Beach. It's just
Mhm.
being smart on those hills.
Got it. That makes sense. So you're doing lots of miles. You did share that you get up early to be able to do your runs with your
Mhm.
groups, but any other tips you have as a full-time working mom for fitting in your marathon training?
Well, for me, if I don't do it in the morning, it doesn't happen. The
Mm-hmm.
chances of getting out in the evening are very slim to none. And now in my plan and my build up for Mountains to Beach, I was doing just a couple of recovery runs in the evenings. And I'm working with a coach now, and I told her, I put it on my schedule and I will try really hard, but it's it's like 50-50 chance that I'll get that second run in the
Mm-hmm.
evening, unless I
Mm-hmm.
go out at 10 p.m. But that makes getting up the next morning at 3 a.m. really hard.
Right.
So really, yeah, like for me, the morning run is non-negotiable. I just get up and I do it every day. Unfortunately, I'm not alone. Most days I'm running with a big group. Now, we're not all on the same plan, but we have a good, sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's 30 people, but we all show up we have our places throughout town, usually a Starbucks, and we have some designated routes that we run.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, we're all in the same distance range. So we might not be running together the whole time. We have different workouts, we have different paces or distances, but we're in the same general area.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing that you're there with other people, and other people are expecting you to be there. We all start together, and at the end of our run, we come back and we have coffee, and it's just such a fun way to start the day. So
Yeah.
for me, it's having that community is really what gets me out of bed to do the run, even in the winter months. And it does get cold here. I know I'm in California, but it still gets in the low 20s in the winter time. And
Yeah,
then
it's a
it's
big
in the
state, right?
80s at 4 a.m. in the summer. Yeah, we
Yep.
definitely have seasons where I am. But yeah, I'd say that it's finding that group of people who are in the same boat, who need to get it done in the morning because they have busy lives the
Yep.
rest of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. So I wonder, Alyssa, if you could share with us what the difference has been between working with a coach and not, and how that's affected your running, and maybe any insights into why, in particular, some of the tips your coach has given you have helped you more than just having a generic training plan.
Yeah, I highly recommend getting a coach. Before I was using a training plan that I downloaded, the Hanson's plan. I just got it
Yep.
offline
Yep.
and, on Final Surge, it was there. But having a coach is so specified towards your strengths and weaknesses,
hmm
and it's not as predictable. So I'm sure every coach is a little different, but my
Yeah.
coach, who's Caitlin Gray Goodman, she gives me my plan on a weekly basis. So it's somewhat consistent. I can kind of know what to expect, but the workouts are different. The long run distances are different. So having it, not laid out in front of me months in advance is actually helpful, because I go into each week fresh. It's kind of like, oh, on Sunday night, I'm excited to see what my workouts are going to be for the next
Right.
week. But
Yeah.
there's also that constant encouragement, and she's looking at all my Garmin data, my heart rate and my cadence and paces, all of those types of things. So she's really able to tailor it and push me when I need to be pushed, and reel me back when I need to have that easy run. And because it's so specified, I've been able to hit paces and do workouts that I probably never would have even tried to do myself. And so that's been incredibly beneficial to my overall running performance. And then, unfortunately, earlier this year, I did get a stress fracture, the first time I've ever been injured because of running. And she programmed my cross training for a solid 8 weeks. So not only does she program great running plans for me, but that cross training was so important in keeping my fitness up, because I lost in 8 weeks of training for Mountains to Beach.
Right.
But I was able to get on the bike and in the pool and the elliptical, that sort of thing. And, it was so nice having somebody else plan that for me, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done. It was so invaluable having a coach through that experience.
Yeah, it seems like just the confidence factor, right? That like what you're doing is gonna work out, even if you're not so sure.
And then having somebody to bounce things off of. My coach is obviously a very experienced runner. She's fantastically talented. So she's been through all of it too. She's been injured. She has struggled with nutrition and fueling, and just having someone to kind of bounce those ideas off of and brainstorm, and then just providing that constant motivation and encouragement, again, is so beneficial. And you get that with your running group too, but a coach knows you specifically, and they know your data and where your strengths and weaknesses are. So they can really pinpoint when you're going to need that encouragement, and what types of things or workouts will help boost your confidence, and when that needs to happen. The mental aspect of training for a marathon is so important.
Right.
And just having somebody in your corner telling you, actually, based on your data, you can do it.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Go crush it.
Yep. So I wonder, Alyssa, if you can share with us about getting ready to Olympic trial qualify after running your mere 2 marathons so far, and what that process has been like, and definitely excited for you with that.
Yeah, it is. I know. So before I had my injury, I for sure thought I could do a 250 marathon in Mountains to Beach. Again, like we were talking about it, there is a noticeable downhill, so I thought I could use that to my advantage and use it as a stair stepper towards a race later this year, maybe a CIM or potentially St. George. We'll see. To keep stair stepping my way down toward that 2:45 time. Now that I had to take 8 weeks off, and we'll only have an 8-week build up for Mountains to Beach. We'll see, but I'm still shooting for a PR at Mountains to Beach. And then if I can stay healthy, if my foot will cooperate and not, fingers crossed, God willing, I don't have any more injuries. I definitely want to shoot for that time again. Like I said, either probably at California International Marathon. I just had such a wonderful experience there, and it just makes me excited to think about going back. So either that, and then I do have until January of 2020 to get it done. So I potentially have all of next year to keep working towards it. And it was last week. It was announced that the trials will be at the Atlanta Marathon, and that the marathon would actually be providing travel stipends to all of the A and B standard qualifiers. And
Awesome.
I'd be going for that B standard. So that's kind of another nice little carrot dangling out there.
Yeah.
To have a little bit of the travel covered to get myself and my family out there. That's huge.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, I'm super excited for you. We're kind of doing an ode here to Lindsey Hein with this question, but I was going to ask you,
yes.
What are you loving lately?
Yeah, you mentioned Lindsey Hein. I love her podcast. I'll have another actually. She did a great episode, I think 2 episodes now, with Deena Kastor. And that original episode with Deena aired right before CIM, and I listened to it probably 3 times the week before the race, and then even the morning of, while I was getting ready, I listened to it. So in addition to Lindsey Hein's podcast, Deena Kastor, I haven't read her book yet. I have it sitting on my nightstand ready to go, but she is so inspirational, and I can't wait to dig into that book and just more of the mental side of training and really just get better at that. So otherwise, running wise, I love Rabbit Apparel. It's all I run in these days. And they are a California company based in Santa Barbara, and all of their clothes are made here. And I love that, of course. And so in addition to the great clothes, they're a wonderful company, and they support a lot of really amazing athletes, and it's fun watching their athletes just excel from the track to ultra marathon, the trail races. They're really good at showcasing all sides of the running world, which I love. So definitely check out Rabbit, like the animal, based in California. Shoe wise, since coming back from my injury, I have been loving the Hokas. I wear the Hoka Hupanas, the Hoka Cliftons, and the Cavus. So I've got 3 in my rotation now that I'm loving. Otherwise, I'm a New Balance girl. I've always run a New Balance and worked out New Balance other than that. But through Hoka, I got connected sort of with the Northern Arizona Elite group up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and they're a fun group to watch. Obviously, professional running group team, and I love following Stephanie and Ben Bruce. They're just super relatable. They also have 2 little ones that they're chasing around all the time, and they're from California, so it's fun to follow them on social media and their story. And Stephanie is a great role model for coming into the running world, or coming back to running after having children, and that you can do it, and you can have some of your best years postpartum, which is really encouraging. And I'll actually be going to their training camp in August. So it's called Bruce Camp, and I believe they still have spaces available. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing later this summer. Yeah.
Very cool.
So those are a few things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, awesome, Alyssa. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. And I guess, how can people follow you? I will put this in our show notes, but how can people follow you with your journey to Mountains to Beach and then to Atlanta, hopefully?
Yeah, you can follow me on all social media at Alyssa Houtley, my first and last name. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Strava, Garmin Connect, all first name, last name, easy.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you again. And we have something else we're going to record, so people need to tune back in tomorrow. But
yeah.
Thank you for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hey, podcast fans, I did want to remind you to subscribe, because Alyssa is coming back tomorrow to share more about her fitness journey in general before she started running. So definitely wanted you to hear that. She was really kind enough to share this story that she said a lot of people that she knows now don't even really know. She doesn't really talk about that much. So really sweet of her to share that. Hopefully it'll help inspire some of you out there. And then also wanted to remind you of two things going on right now. One, especially for those of you who are like Alyssa and toddler moms, or maybe baby moms, or maybe you are an expecting mom, or maybe you're not even a mom, but you know someone who is a mom of little ones or mom to be. You will love my previous two episodes with Dr. Nicole Avina and entering to win a copy of her books, What to Eat When You're Pregnant and What to Feed Your Baby and Toddler, which is her newest book that's not even available in bookstores yet, but will be just in time for Mother's Day. So head on over to the show notes, fitarmadillo.com/podcast to find those episodes. Subscribe today wherever you listen to podcasts so that you can remember to listen to Alyssa's second episode. And if you are not following Fit Armadillo, which is my fitness company, the sponsor of my podcast show, you might want to go check out the 7-day fitness challenge I have going on. It's 100% free and designed to help you kind of jumpstart your routine and healthy lifestyle this May. So I hope you'll check out some of these fun things going on this month, and I will be able to chat with you tomorrow and share more from Alyssa. All right, talk to you then. Bye.